Okay, we already online.
Има ли вече хора в канала да почваме?
37.
Супер.
Чакаме ли още или почваме?
Не, да започваме.
Okay.
Добре, здравейте хора, добре дошли пак с нас. Днес
Здравейте.
ще с Wаlter Astrada. Дайте знак дали ни чувате и виждате. Изчакваме, дайте знак и започваме. Добре, надявам се, че всичко е наред. Днес ще направим интервю. Ще задаваме въпроси и Wаlter ще отговаря на тях, така че можете да се включите по всяко време. Интервюто ще бъде на английски, но в последствие ще добавим субтитри в YouTube, така че ще можете да го гледате хората, които не говорят добре английски. Така че, добре дошли и започваме. Okay, so Yaor, you can say a few words about Walter.
Yeah, today we'll talk with Walter. Walter is an Argentinian-born photographer. 10 years ago, when I was photojournalist, I know his name because he was one of my favorites, and of course he was very well known. He won so many photography journalists prizes, 3 WordPress photo. Yeah, I think maybe every photographers in these days know his name, and most of us, even now that they don't know, they saw your picture, I think, in the publication everywhere in the world. So we can start with the questions.
Okay.
Sound on. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Who is the person behind the camera? Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, well, for that, first I want to say thank you guys for organizing this, because I think it's a good way of cutting distances with what we are facing now. Basically, I prepare some like a small presentation. So for some people that they didn't see any picture before, or they don't know what I'm doing now, they can see, and then I can answer the question if it's okay.
Yeah, it will be great.
Okay. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to show like a small presentation of, it's like resume of my almost 15 years of working as a photojournalist, because the last 5 years I changed and I'm traveling by motorcycle. So we can see this and then we can talk. Wow. Okay. It's all in Russian. Well, I mean, with Russian letters, I can understand anything. So, well, this was a small. I thought was something wrong with my presentation. Sorry. It's and then since 5 years ago, I'm traveling my motorcycle, and this is what I'm doing now. So basically, in the going on answer the question that you made, this more about what I am as a photographer. Let's say that it's a mix of doing for a long time pictures of news or projects that have to do with human rights violations or projects that have to do with topics that affect us as a society. And now basically I'm doing the opposite. It's like taking picture of things that they are not in the news. Okay. Well, okay. I think that is a picture presentation. Of course, there are more pictures in the two presentations. So, but I mean, you can go to the sites and see more if you want. About, well, basically, I can say that I am a guy that is really curious about what is around me in different places. So I think that's the reason, basically, one of the reasons I decided to be a photographer, because it was a really good excuse to travel and then also to enter into the lives of a lot of people and trying to know more about how it's to be facing different things along the life. So yeah, let's say that I am very curious guy. So it's I think it's one of the main things that we need to have as the photographer. So we can move around and observe and also be inquisitive about what we ask and how we ask and a lot of things. And then I try to understand different cultures too. So it's some cultures I like more and others I don't like too much, but also I want to understand the culture that I don't like too much. I think it's also good to to try to understand things that you don't like too much. So I think it's all that. I mean, it's a mix. Yeah, I finished.
Yeah, okay. And how did you start it with photography? Where or what was the starting point of your career?
Well, I was in okay, I was living in Buenos Aires. I'm from Argentina, and when I finished school, I was working as an airplane mechanic because that was I studied in the secondary in the high school, and after finish the school, I started studying photography and directly photojournalism. And after I think 2 years or something like that, I started working on a newspaper in Argentina that is called La Nación. I think it's one of the biggest newspaper in Argentina. And from there, yeah, many things happened. I mean, I only worked there for 2 years, and then I decided to start traveling because basically it's that I wanted to do. So, and that traveling took me to different opportunities, and then I started working for a news agency, AP, and from there I was living in different countries working for them, and then from there also I did like the opposite. Normally people, what they do is they work for freelance and they try to work for a newspaper or magazine or an agency or something like that as a fixed photographer, let's say. But in my case was the opposite. I started working as a staffer and then less and less working for somebody and working for myself, let's say, a freelancer working on projects that I really wanted to do. So for me, it's, I mean, I'm not, if I have to decide again, I think I won't be doing the same. I mean, it's the same step because, you know, everything can have better things, or I can be in a different place, a better place maybe, but I am happy with where I am now. So I think if I change anything in the past, I will change what I have now. So, you know, it's, yeah, I don't think so. I won't change anything from my past. Yeah.
Okay. And okay, when we know that what happened when you work with the agencies, but what is the reason to work in the most dangerous places in the world at the time?
Okay. Well, I mean, it's not a reason behind because that kind of work, depending on the country where you live, is part of your daily life sometimes. I mean, it's because the area that you cover. I mean, when I was in Paraguay, mainly I was covering soccer because is what is the you know, it's a, there are a lot of soccer games and tournaments and everything. So basically, my main work was to cover sports. And then when I moved to Dominican Republic, I was covering Haiti because was close to Dominican Republic. I mean, in the same island. So there, before I was covering riots and demonstrations and all these kind of things. But I think when I was in Haiti, I stopped covering. I mean, when I was in Dominican Republic, I stopped covering sports and I passed more to political and social issues. And some of them were dangerous. I mean, in Haiti, when they made a coup d'etat against Aristide, you know, was very dangerous. So, and after that, I started doing long-term projects at the same time. And then when I moved to Uganda to collaborate with France Press, I was covering normally, you know, hard news because there were a lot of hard news at that time. I mean, that depends of where you are based. I mean, if you are based in Los Angeles, you don't do too much. I mean, you do sports and you do, the Oscars or something like that. But mainly when you work for news agencies, it depends on where you are based. And but that is something that I wanted to do when I was younger. I mean, normally you see that pictures on, WordPress or blah, 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 and then said, oh, I want to do that. But sometimes you don't know exactly what you're talking about when you say, I want to do that. It's like you learn that when you are there. And it's like, man, I really want to do this. It's like, I think it's, but it's part, sometimes was part of my job. And sometimes I decide to do and cover that kind of things. So it was a mix. And some places sometimes looks more dangerous than from outside that when you are in. I mean, it's because sometimes it's, it's quiet and then a lot of violence happen and then it's quiet again. And maybe it's only for 30 minutes or maybe one day. And from outside looks like every day is very violent. So yeah, it's a mix. It's sometimes I decide to go to that places. Sometimes I was requested to go to that places. But the thing is, you always can say, no, I don't want to go. And, it's, for example, I never went to Iraq or Afghanistan. So not because it was dangerous, but because I didn't want to go with the soldiers. I wanted to go and walking around and taking pictures, but that when they asked me to go was impossible. So I decided not to go. So basically, it's you have the decision to go or not, and that is something that it's good in one point. I mean, you can decide. I want to go. For example, when I went to Congo, I went for AFP, but also I was doing a project on the second chapter on the project on violence against women. So I was working at the same time doing news and doing a project. So, and if I was not going there for AFP, I was going to cover the conflict anyway because it was part of my project. So, it's every case and every situation. Everything. It's not. I mean, it's not like always it's like that. So it depends of the situation and where you go and what you are covering and what you want to do with that picture too.
Okay, and in that direction, after all, who you're photographing for in the first place? For yourself, for the public, for the media, for any organization? And okay, how do you decide what topics to work on, maybe in your personal projects?
Okay, well, as I said before, it depends of if you are working for a news agency, maybe, and you are living in any country and something happening in your country, you have to cover it. I mean, it's part of your job. But for me, that part of the job was, it's not that because of part of my job, it's because what I wanted to do pictures in the first place. And I decided to shoot because was my naive idea that if you shoot pictures in these places, it's going to stop. That the thing when you think when you are 18 or 19. But normally it's not like that. I mean, the conflict, it doesn't stop because you take pictures. But in some situations, it helped to attract attention to some subjects. So sometimes, the government or the countries are forced to do something, and also the NGOs are forced to go on their own work. So that is, I think, is still there. I mean, it's there are situations that we only know because as a photographer or somebody working on that place. And the problem in my case is I don't believe too much now in the media in general. So there are exceptions from my point of view. So it's not a rule. So that I think that has changed more and more with the time. Maybe 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago was that way, but now I don't feel like that. I think it's more like entertainment for, you know, in the news and or at least in the TV. Huh? So I don't like that way. So I stopped shooting that kind of stories. And as I show in the pictures, I was mixing a lot. I was doing news, and also at the same time I was doing long-term projects. And for example, the project on violence against women, I spent 6 years doing it, but it doesn't mean that I was working for 6 years only on that project. It's I was doing Kenya, Madagascar, a project on child labor, a project on multiple sclerosis with other photographers, the last 2 projects. And at the same time, I was doing this project on violence against women. So it's, for me, were all topics that I thought that pictures can help to understand and also to attract attention to situations that normally we don't take too much in you know, we don't see it normally. I mean, and for example, for me, the project on violence against women or the project on multiple sclerosis are projects that are talking about a really harsh situation for people that is living in, and sometimes they are not living in a war zone. I mean, but what they are facing is almost the same situation that if you are in a war zone. So, you know, you don't have access to hospitals. You are killed because your husband, ex-husband, boyfriend, ex-boyfriend killed you. So it's really hard for people that should be living in a country without violence because you don't have a war, but you have a lot of violence anyway. So all these kind of topics I was interested to. And then, for example, when I was living in Dominican Republic, I did a project on Asian population living in Dominican Republic. And basically there they are like second, they're not seen as a human being basically sometimes. Mm-hmm. So I found that was a project that I had to do in a country where I was living to. So yeah, it depends. It basically is things that I was looking around and I didn't like it. So I decided to point the camera in that direction to show it. And then in the motorcycle trip, basically has nothing to do with the previous thing. It's more about how we live normally. I mean, but not having the violence in the middle. And then, you know, it's more like the cultural part, the celebrations, I don't know, how we enjoy, you know, the night in the bar or something like that. So these kind of pictures. But for me, it's a mix, and it's a way of complete the whole picture, because we have, as humans, we have a really bad part, but also we have a really good part. So for me, it's like this trip is just trying to complete the part that didn't have time to do when I was doing the violent part of us. So I think, for example, 2 years ago, I did an exhibition in, and also the exhibition that you were moving in Bulgaria is the same. You have pictures of projects, but also you have pictures of the trip, and it's the same. It's the same in that exhibition I did. Mainly was the trip, but also was a part exclusive for the news and the harsh part of the life, because I think we have this, you know, the yin and yang of life. You know, we are very violent, but then we are very care. You know, it's a huge. it's like we are like bipolar, you know, as a race. You know, we are very good and really bad. Sorry. Yep.
Oh, okay. Actually, you answer more than one question already with WAS2. So, but how do you gain access? Maybe it will be interesting to compare with to gain access when you need to protect somebody to protect you or some organization, and now when you're alone.
How I get access to do the stories? That's the question.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, one of the secrets is the time. I mean, if it's not the same timing when you work for news when you do projects. So even if what I'm working on is Newsly, no, I mean is I can go and, for example, in Guatemala, I was covering one situation and where many photographers were, local photographers for newspapers, but they spend only, I don't know, 10 minutes and they go. And I spent like 2-3 hours. And then after that, I was a woman killed. So, and after that, I took the phone number of the sister of the woman and I called her to go to the house and take picture of the funeral and everything. And they said, yeah, you can come. So I was there for 3 days working only with this family. So this time allow you to get into the lives of people. It's not the same that you just arrive, take a picture and go. That also I did. I mean, there are pictures I show that is mainly protest on the streets. You don't have too much time to be talking with the people, you know, you just go there, cover, and then you need to go back and fight. But the projects that are more like long-term projects is all about time. And for that, I was really lucky to have, for the project on violence, for example, I got 3 different grants to do the project. I started with my money and then with Guatemala, and then the other 3 countries were made through grants. So that in that position, I have the time to spend with the people and try to understand the whole situation. And that allowed me to get into a lot of situations that if I was not lucky to have the grant, I could not make it, you know, because, and also people when they go through a lot of traumatical things, they need time to be listened. I mean, it's, and you need time to them, then you need to, you know, like give them time to believe and then trust in you. So, but basically the secret is time, you know.
Yeah. I wondering where to, what will be the next question? Jana, can you help me?
Sound, yeah.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Okay, so how do you prepare for work? Tell us a little bit more of the technical aspects, because people would like to know what equipment are you using and how do you just prepare in general?
Okay, well, it depends of the story. When I was covering news, I was more like with zoom lenses and all the things because, you know, you can sometimes the action is not that close, or even if it's close, you don't have time to change lenses. But always I was using normally the 24 and 70. And then now in the trip, I am using only the 35 and the 50. So if I need to go close, I just walk. If I want to have it from a far position, I just walk back, you know. It's, but now I don't have the, now I don't have the pressure to have pictures. So the only pressure is myself. So it's like, Walter, you don't have any good picture in the last, I don't know, 15 days. So you need to work harder, you know. But when you are working for somebody, you need to deliver pictures. And so it depends of what I am working on. But now, for example, if somebody were hiring me, that is not happening anymore, but if I will be using only the 35 and 50 because I am used to it now. Since almost 5 years, I am working with these two lenses. So for me, now it's really complicated to change because it's almost a question of size of the camera and the lens. So the zoom is too big, so it's yeah, it depends of the story, but now I don't think so. I won't change what I am using. And how I prepare in which sense? In the normally, I mean, that is the technical part of the camera, but how I prepare more about doing project is about reading about the topic and trying to have information in the head before going to the place. So that will allow me to ask questions when I am there with some information in the head. It's not like I try to go blank with pictures, but with information in the head. I don't, it's different. I try not to see any pictures of the place or the story, and just try to have reading information. So that allow me to to have some information to make questions, and that questions are going to allow me to, I hope, to make better pictures in some ways.
And where in the place, when you do the pictures, do you think about it while you do the photographs, or is it all your instinct?
If I think how to take the pictures or how, sorry, I didn't
Yeah. The question is, when you do the pictures, do you think it, or you just do as instinct?
Well, I mean, it's also it depends. When it's more about news, it's just just a reaction of what you are seeing. I mean, it's more like because sometimes the action was really fast or quick, so basically you don't have too much to think, too much time to think. You just shoot what you are seeing, and that it's complicated in the way that you don't have too much time to think about composition. Is basically you have it or you don't have it. It's just more like that. But now on the trip, because I have a lot of time, and even if I don't have any pictures, it's not a big problem. I think more about where trying to go and take a picture. For example, I can be walking on the street and say, oh, this corner can be a good picture, but now it's not a good time for the light. So I will come back tomorrow, And but maybe I go to the next day and it's not like what I was thinking, of course. Never is like how you think, always is change. But I try to, now on the trip is more about trying to compose the pictures and blah, blah, blah. When I was doing news, it's more about transmitting or sharing what I was seeing and was more about reaction about the situation and trying to do everything at the same time. And now it's more like, okay, I can just try to take nice pictures and that's it.
Okay, and is it sometimes hard for you to separate the emotion and the personal experience from your work?
Well, I don't split. I mean, it's basically what I try to do. It's what I am feeling or in the situation. I try to, in some ways, add to the pictures. I mean, it's like I try to. That's the reason also. If you see, most of my pictures are like are very close range. I mean, I'm very close, but it's not because I want to show that I can be close to some places, because it's like I try to put you in the same position if you were me. Yeah, it's like, okay, I was seeing this and I wish you see the same thing from the same point in one. You know, if you use long lenses, always will be a distance, okay? And that in the content, but what is inside, if you know, if I feel, if I was feeling sad, or you know, I was feeling happy or something like that, I try to put that in the picture too. Sometimes it's possible, sometimes not, but I just try to put my feelings inside the pictures. I cannot say, oh, you know, basically we are not a machine, you know. It's like we cannot put off, our emotions are there, you know. It's so, and I think it's except crying when we are shooting, I think it's good to allow all the emotions to be there, because I think it's that will allow you to take better pictures. It's my opinion. I don't know if it's for everybody like that, but in my case it's like that, you know. It's like if I make, you know, I just don't control what I'm feeling. I think sometimes it's much better than trying to say, no, you know, I have to be professional, blah, blah, blah. What, I mean, what means be professional? You know, so that's the question, basically.
And when there is a situation that, is there a situation that you're afraid of your own safety? And if there is, while you work, what you do?
Okay.
When all the emotions came?
Well, I mean, it's it's okay to be afraid. I mean, it's you know, I think it's good to be afraid, because that will allow you to be able to escape in some ways, because you will be you know, you will be with more attention on what is going around you. What is not good is to be in shock. It's, for me, it's different. I you know, for me to be afraid, it's because in some ways to be, you know, it's human to be afraid of, you know, if they are shooting or they are killing somebody. Of course you are afraid of being killed, or you are, you know, it's not wrong with that. It's nothing wrong with that. But it's, and also if in that place they are killing other people, it's, I mean, it's not okay, but they can kill you too. I mean, you are a human being as the other one, you know. So yeah, I mean, but that's the reason I said at the beginning, it's, I wanted to do this. And, you know, that's one of the reasons I start teaching, because now I don't receive this kind of emails, but in the past I was receiving a lot of emails saying, I want to go to war zones. And I said, man, you don't know what you are talking about. You know, it's like, it's not a game. I mean, people die there. So that's the reason I decided to start teaching, because I thought that was something wrong in the, in between. It's like, for some people, it's like, it's fun to go to these places. And I don't think so it's any fun to go there. And it's dangerous, you can die. And then a lot of people is dying in that place. So it's not a game for them. So I don't think so. We need to take this profession as a play program, you know. It's because it's not like that. I mean, it's now in the trip, yeah, I do that, you know. I enjoy, and it's different, but because for me it's like normal life. It's in the way that's okay. People die in the normal day, but not because they are bombing, or they are, you know, entering into the house and killing everybody because you are from different tribes. So I think that you have to have in mind. It's like, if you decide to go there, it's okay to be afraid, because everybody is afraid to be killed, and then it's not a game. So you have a responsibility to be there. It's and then when you are there, you have to be able to show what is going on. And if not, if for you it's just a game to go, don't go. I mean, it's like, it's not fun at all. I mean, it's and also if you are sensitive, you are going to pay a tool. You know, always you are going to pay a tool. So that's normally is what I told the people. It's like, man, don't go there, and you know, because it's not what you think. It's not what the movies show you. You know, it's completely different. And then there are things that you can forget, but there are things you never forget. So, and I have some friends that you know, have some problems because of that. You know.
Okay, in that regard, maybe the last question on this topic, but
Okay.
what give you strength to go on, to move further? How you handle the stress and keep your creativity?
Okay. Well, I think I have really good friends. Not many, but I have really good friends with whom I can talk, and then they can understand, and then you know, we in some places we are sharing the same situation, so it's like escape valve, you know. So and then as the same I'm doing now with this virus, I it's like I try to put on a stop off. For example, I don't talk too much about the virus. I'm talking now, but I mean, it's as an example. I follow the news now only when the president or some minister are talking, but I don't follow the normal news because if not, you never go out. I mean, you are inside your house and then everybody's just talking about this, and then you don't see any way, you know. It's like, it's the same with that. It's like, well, during some time when I was covering all these kind of topics, I was married. I was with my ex-wife, and then for me was like, when I went back home, I didn't talk about what I was doing before. You know, for me it was like two different lives, and I think that is one of the way of facing it. Is like, when you go and you cover that, is remains there, and then when you come back, you don't bring that shit in your life. You know what I mean? It's like you try to really separate, and also in that way you protect the people around you. So yeah, that was the things I was using in the past, but now I am using the motorcycle trip. So let's say that I took it to the next level. Let's say, yeah.
Okay, one question, but not about the virus, but the situation now.
Yeah.
If you have a chance, or maybe you have some thoughts about to go out there and to photograph the situation.
The situation now?
The situation now, yeah.
Well, I am not.
Okay.
I decided not to do any picture of this. Only one. When I arrive in Madrid, I'm staying in the house of a friend. So basically, we have a playground on, you know, just in front of the house. So I just took a picture of workers closing the playground so people cannot go in. And it's the only picture I took about this. And after that, I decided not to do anything. I know there are many photographers who are doing, you know, even collaborative projects, you know, 2, 3, 5 photographers shooting, but I decided not to do that. I mean, even I can, one of the few people that can move out of the house are photographers or journalists. So basically I could be using that to be outside my house. And I decided not to do it because I'm not going to do anything with that pictures. And so that also is part of not giving the like 100% to that thing. You know, it's like, for me, it's like, I'm here I read, I watch movies, I do online workshops, I do online interviews like this one. I talk with friends. Yesterday night we did like a beer party through Skype, but with 2 or 3 friends, different, one in Cuba, one in other parts of Spain. So we are enjoying for a while, maybe 1 hour talking, blah blah, and yeah, I just try to not think too much about the virus. So if I was going outside and shoot pictures, I will be all the time thinking about this. And I repeat, I have basically I have the opportunity to go out and be walking on the street. Nobody's going to stop me, even the police. But I decide not to do it. So yeah, and then if now is I don't see it anymore as my job. So I am not obligated to do it. So I decided not to do it, basically.
Okay, and let's change and come back to the bikes. You like bikes?
Yeah,
obviously.
Well, I didn't know how to use a motorcycle before the trip, so it's it was starting to knowing how to use it was part of the project of traveling, basically.
And what gives you the motorcycle? And why Royal Enfield?
Yeah, well, that's a question for bikers. Well, I don't think any. I mean, it was a bike that I loved when I was in India doing Project on Violence. I was in India for 4 months, and I was Enfield everywhere, and I loved the bike basically. And I saw 5, 6, 7 Indians on one bike, as a huge family on a bike, and I said, okay, it can be a very strong bike, whole family in one bike. And then what gives me is freedom. I mean, knowing the bureaucratical part, because that is something that pisses me off. But in the way of once I am inside the country and all the bureaucratical part is solved, I can travel where I want, and I can stop where I want. I can go to places where the tourists, they are not going because there are no transport to there. So basically, it gives me the freedom to go and travel where I want to go. Yeah, let's say that it's full free. It's yeah, I think it's and after 5 years, I don't think so. I'm going. Along the 5 years, I have to take sometimes local transport. I don't know, because I came to Spain twice, so I have to go to some places and I have to take trains, blah, blah. And I said, I want to go by bike, Basically, now I don't depend anymore of any timetable from buses, trains, blah, blah. So if I wake up and I said, okay, I want to go there. Okay, I just wake up and take the bike, I go, even if it takes me like 3 or 4 days. And yeah, but the main thing is because I'm taking pictures, I can't stop. If I see a place where I can take a good picture, I just stop and take pictures. So it's yeah, let's say it's freedom, full freedom. Yep.
Yeah. And okay, regarding documentary photography, where do you find your inspiration? Or do you rely on your instinct only?
You mean with inspiration of other photographers or things
other photographers or something different, maybe?
Okay. Well, normally, of course, I have photographers I really like their work, but I try to get inspiration from outside photography, because if not, it can be very boring. I mean, it's like we only talk about photography. So now I really have a lot of time. I was watching a lot of movies and I'm reading. In the trip, I am yeah, it's pity I have to read through the iPad, but it's where I read, and then I can have like 100 books, you know. In the motorcycle, it's impossible to have 100 books. So basically, I can be jumping from one book to another one, or even I can be reading 5 books at the same time. So it's really cool. And then, well, you know, museums are a good place to go and look. When I was living in Madrid, here in Spain, with the press card, we can enter into the museum for free, and that is cool. And so anytime that somebody was coming to my house, I said, "Oh, let's go to the Prado." It's, you know, it's like it's one of the main museums here. It's a painting museum. So, and I was there only to look at the you know, the wow, man, they are called the black painting. It's now I forget the painter. Crazy. Goya. Sorry. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I go there. It's just a whole space with that painting, and it's amazing because some of them can be pictures in a place where people is facing really harsh time, and then, you know, it's and for me, that paintings are really, it's hard to look at it because also you imagine that happened at that time of the history, but also for me it's like, maybe if I was living at that time and I was photographer there, I was taking the same pictures, you know. It's and it's like, but in pictures, not painting. And for me, it's, and then, you know, I forced my friends to go there and look this painting, and then really here we can enter free in any museum or gallery, something like that. So when I was here, I was just doing that a lot of time, but not only exhibition of photographies, but can be anything. I mean, it's and then in the trip, it's a lot of things come from talking with the people, you know, come from reaching a place and be able to take pictures or do stories of things that you didn't, in my case, I didn't know before the trip, but I was close and I said, okay, I can go there. For example, I was in Indonesia, and it's an island that is called Sulawesi, and in that part is a part that is called Tanah Toraya, and there is a celebration that is a celebration, but they celebrate funerals, okay? But they spend like 5 years doing 5 days doing this funeral, so that is really something completely different that we are facing normally. I mean, the funeral here is, you know, 3 hours and then you just go and finish. But there they spent 5 days. But then sometimes, since the people die until they do the funeral, it passed maybe 10 years or 15 years because they need to make the money to pay for the funeral because it's a huge one. So, and I was not even close. I have to take a ferry for 2 days and then travel, I don't know how many kilometers but I was, now in my trip, everything is close. I mean, it's like 2,000 kilometers. That is really close. I mean, it's like 1 week. Yeah. But this trip allowed me to be there for 20 days. I was doing 20 days. And for me, it was a new world. I mean, it was amazing to do these kind of pictures. That was very documentary. I mean, it was an idea, was an story. I did pictures during 22 days. And for me, it was the first time where I just left the bike and went back on doing projects on, you know, on one topic. In the trip, I'm doing just different pictures, single ones, but there was like, oh no, this is amazing. I have to do a story. And with that, it happens also in Paraguay. carnival, and I decided to go to a part of the country that is called Chaco, and you have to travel like the whole day to go there, you know. And I was in Paraguay, and I was talking with a friend, and man, we need to go. So basically, I pushed him to took me there because it's my bike was broken, so I needed a car to go. And I said, okay. And I was, you know, every day, man, we need to go during a week until, okay, yeah, we go. And I took pictures of a carnival that normally were few photographers there because, you know, it's far away. I mean, it's like in the middle of the desert. So and that is kind of things that I really enjoy. Yeah.
And there is one question that maybe is suitable not only for the works that you do before, but and now.
Yeah.
When sometimes you're in a situation that you have refusal to be in to get a picture, do you have something like your special techniques, like some behavior? I know, and we all know that time is the key.
No, I don't have. I mean, and even this is a question that during workshops that people ask me too. I don't know how to answer because, you know, the question is, man, how did you get access to that? And I don't know. You know, I just was there and I asked, can I take a picture? Yeah, you can. So I don't know, man. It's something like I think I can teach a lot of things, but that I cannot teach. I don't know how to teach that. I don't know how to tell somebody how to behave to get access. For me, it's like, you know, it's something that came naturally. I mean, it's like more for the pictures that I need to get access. Really, I mean, not now in the trip. In the trip is easy because people are just doing normal things. They don't care too much, or they are not passing through hard situation. But in the previous one, you know, I have to enter into a house where somebody was killed, and you know, I don't know, man. I was allowed to be there and take pictures, and but I don't know. It's something that's happened. I don't know how to explain. It's the only thing really I don't know how to explain. It's few people in general had told me not to take some pictures. You know, it's like, you know, yeah, and if they say no, I don't take. So that is the only thing I can teach. You have to respect when they say no. But that's it. Really, it's amazing. I need to think about it because that is the question that is the only one I cannot answer. It's something like that. It happens.
Okay, let's go on with easier one. How do you post-processing?
I don't.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
It was easier.
I am really bad. No, I am really bad with Photoshop. So that's the reason. And also, I am happy to be bad with Photoshop because if you are good, you start thinking, oh, I can remove this, and then you still, you know, you finish being a Steve McCurry. But the point is, basically what I do is I shoot in RAW. So normally you need to put contrast because, you know, RAW is more like flat, and then I just do if I need, you know, like as we did in the you know, in the old times, you know, you just put the hand like that. So I do the same, but not much because I don't really, you know, basically it's almost is the picture that I took in the moment. So I don't do much. The only thing I do is I check because on the trip I am selling pictures and I have to sell the picture ready to print. So I don't have too much control about. So basically I did some tests and I knew where I had to put the black and the white, and that's it. It's the only thing I do. Yeah, and really it's the only thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Jana, Do we have some other question in
Yes,
YouTube?
we have a question from the audience. Do you have a family? Do you plan on having one with your line of work? How would you balance your work and family life?
Okay. When you mean family, you mean wife and kids, right?
Yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah. Well, now I told you already. I don't have a wife. So, and in the trip, it's really complicated. So it's that part is not there now. And then I didn't have kids. So, but also that is a decision. I didn't want to have kids. So it's nothing wrong with having and nothing wrong with not having. So I decided not to. So basically, yeah. In family now will be my mother and my two sisters, basically. So in this kind of things, and but like personal family, yeah, it will be my friends. Maybe that will be my personal family. Yeah.
And in that regard, how do you prioritize photography, family, wife? What comes first?
Well, when I was with somebody for almost 7 years, I was seeing her in a year, 6 months. So I was traveling a lot, and I think in one point was hard, but was okay because you are young and you can afford that normally. And then if you are not agree, you finish I mean, it's like everything on the life. So let's say that during some time, the balance between family and work was complicated. Okay, it was not that easy. And now in the trip, basically, I'm just giving the whole time to the motorcycle and the pictures, and also to friends, but in different ways because we are going to with a lot of friends. I just keep in touch through social media. I mean, WhatsApp. With a very close friends, we talk at least once each 20 days or something like that. But then traveling also, I have a lot of friends. I'm making a lot of friends. So it's really hard to be alone anyway. It's I think that is why now there are people that it's for them it's complicated to be alone in the house. They cannot go out because we are not to use sometimes to be just with yourself, But in the trip, I have many situations like that, when I traveling and it's a long distance between two cities or even two villages. So basically you are alone there. So it's part of the normal day sometimes for me. It depends of where I am. I cross Australia and man, there are many places that there are nobody at all, or Mongolia, So it's kilometers and kilometers of just nobody. So it's you start getting used to to not having personal contact all the time. I mean, it's just part of.
And now, okay, Jana, go on.
You said you read a lot. What kind of books do you read?
Well, novels, yeah, basically. Then sometimes I go back to books I read in the past, but when I was child, and now, there are books that when you read when time pass, you get different view from the same book, and also it's yeah, and then I am trying to, but sometimes it's like reading on the iPad is really complicated. So, you know, books that are more of philosophy or something like that are harder to read in an iBook. You know, it's like in an iPad. So it's like I try to, you know, but it's harder. Yeah, normally novels are easier to read, or adventure book or something like that. But history books also. But something like is more like, you know, every paragraph it's something that you need to think about. It is harder on when it's not a book, but I try to.
Do you ever photograph or do some photography in different genre, except maybe photojournalism and documentary?
Well, if you talk about documentary as street photography or pictures of what I'm taking on the trip, basically I didn't change too much, let's say. But I didn't change too much the way I was shooting. Basically, I just changed the subject. So, you know, it's like before that was more about violence or violation of human rights, and now it's more about, you know, daily life or things that are more like celebrations or that kind of things. But if you talk about more like artistic work, no, I don't do. Basically it's a continuation, but different topics on what I was doing before.
Actually, we are talking about weddings, but I'm joking. So, as a freelance photographer, how do you monetize your work?
Oh, okay. Well, okay. When I was working for news agents or newspaper, they pay for, you know, a salary. And now in the trip, I have like different ways of making money, because sadly we need money to live. That's the point. If you know, I wish we don't have to do that, but it's part of how the society we have. But I do workshops. I was teaching before the trip a lot. So basically, I arrived to a place by plane, the same I was going to do in Bulgaria. I mean, I was going to arrive by plane. But now I arrive with my motorcycle. So what I do is, if I know that I'm going to reach a place in 2 months, I start talking with photographers there, or a school of photography, or, you know, can be centers, or every place where I can teach, or sometimes I just do it for myself. I mean, I put a presentation advertisement on Facebook or Instagram, and with that I say I'm going to do a workshop in somewhere in this place, blah blah blah. So that is one of the main ways of now. And then I do online workshops one-to-one. Before this virus, now I am doing workshops online, but with more people, like now, you know. It changed because I have a workshop here in Madrid in the 14th of March. So I told the participants to do it online, and they said, yes, we can do. So it was my really first online workshop, and it went so well that I decided to do more. So now I did I did already 3, and now on Saturday I'm doing another one in Spanish, and then I am planning one in English because there are people that want to do in English, and then I sell the pictures of the trip on my site, so you can buy it and you put on your wall, and then I have like a crowdfunding, but it's not in a crowdfunding platform, but on my site also on the trip. So where you can collaborate, and with that, I make like raffles between the people that put money on the site. And then if you win, you can decide which picture you want, and then you receive the picture in your home. And then in some places, I printed like postcards. So I encountered that on the motorcycle, and I do a lot of talking on, in a lot of places, schools or cultural centers or anywhere. And then I put a table and I sell my postcards there. Yeah. And then also I do talks. I mean, I was going to Bulgaria to do a talk. So that is another way. So yeah, different things. And then I try to spend few money. I mean, it's like.
Jana, do we have another question?
I think Bobo has one.
Yeah.
Okay. No, we cannot hear you.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
While we wait, Gogo.
Do you think there is a room for aseptic in documentary photo? Do you try to accomplish aesthetic value, or the message is the most? This was the question from Pogo. He just wrote it.
Yeah. Well, okay. It also depends of what kind of projects. If it's more about, as I said, the previous work, like covering human rights violations or really hard situation, I don't think too much about the aesthetics. It's more about the message I want to give. It's more about the content of the picture. On the trip is different because basically also some of the pictures, most of the pictures are being selling to be hanging on a wall. So I just try to shoot, nice pictures in one point. But if you see there, all that kind of pictures that are on the trip basically are pictures of people. I mean, it's very few pictures where there are no humans or animals. So you will see really few pictures of only the place. I mean, how you call it? Well, always will be somebody, even if it's small like this, will be there. So even in that picture, I'm just trying to give a message. Is that the war is too big and we are too small, some places basically teach us that we are just really a small part. I mean, we are not that important in some points. But going back to the previous work, yeah, I was really focusing on trying to show or take picture of things that can help people to understand different situations. So I was more about the message than the aesthetics. The aesthetic is there, of course, but it was not the main thing.
Okay. So I think we are at the end of the questions, but maybe you can talk a little bit about what you will go now, where we will go.
After here?
Yeah, well, after.
Basically, I will, when, everything is going back to normal, but I don't know what's normal, but this is not normal at all. Basically, I will wait until the situation is clear everywhere, included Bolivia, where the bike is, because the motorcycle is there, because I don't want to go there and be in quarantine again. It's like, no way. So basically, we don't know how long, but I had calculated at least another 2 months maybe to be back to be able to travel and all this stuff. So when I go there, I will take the bike and continue traveling, going to Peru and then Ecuador, Colombia, and trying to basically finish the trip, you know, going north until Alaska and then doing some part of Africa. And basically that's, I was calculating that it's going to take me another 3 years, maybe something like that. And after that, I don't think too much about the after because it's like, it's too far away, but I have some kind of ideas of what I would like to have. Maybe trying to make like some cabins in some parts. I was thinking in one part of Argentina that is really beautiful and trying to do like something like artistic residence or something like that. But, you know, it's really far away. So I don't think too much about that. But it's something that I was thinking when I was there and I saw the places. And I think it's basically one thing is I'm sure I'm not going back and live in a big city. I'm not sure to be. I don't think so. I'm going to stay in a huge city. I prefer when I finish the trip going to a countryside, even if it's a city close, but not living inside. You know, it's like I get used to having, you know, space and you know, and yeah, basically it's something like that. It's more like trying to have a space to do some like you know, planting of I don't know, tomatoes or something like that. You know, this kind of life. You know, very quiet and with internet, of course, and then that's it.
Yeah, you are welcome in Bulgaria. We have plenty of space to tomato and good internet, even in small cities and countrysides. Yeah. Does anybody have a question?
I think we're done. Thank you. It was a pleasure.
No, thank you guys. Thank you guys. It was a pleasure. Yeah, well, the last thing is when you announced that I was going to go to Bulgaria, a lot of photographers from Bulgaria start following me. So it's it's amazing. Yeah. So it was cool.
You're always welcome. And we hope to see you soon in person here.
I hope so. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much again. Bye.